was intense. It was more than anything I expected. I got like 2 hours of sleep in between day 1 and day 2. We heard some stories, but we didn't really have too much information about it, so it was really cool to get here. We got bronze. Everything we learned about it was on the fly. Like, it was a lot of like, figure it out as you go. Yeah, the water crossing was very cold. I think I built it up in my head a lot more than it really was. But yeah, it was definitely strenuous. We prepped for about 6 weeks. A lot of long rucks, heavy rucks, and I think that got us ready.
Not that easy. Tough physically, mentally, but also being prepared for all these stunts that we need to. But most importantly, working as a team. Got about 2.5 hours of sleep. It was a great experience. The medal-wise, we got the gold medal.
Wet gap crossing, make sure your kit's well prepped, ready to go across so it's not wet the other side, and just being as quick as you can through the water. They secure the weapons to the top of their bergens. By the flotation of the bergen, the weapon shouldn't get wet. If they do get them wet, it will be a weapon husbandry over the other side to make sure their goods are ready to carry on in the fight. It's not actually that cold this time of year, so it's 15 degrees. As soon as they get the other side, get out of their wet kit, get into warm kit to carry on the patrol, so they're not sopping wet and getting any cold injuries, especially now it's getting a bit colder.
As always, we've had the mixture of weather, we've had the mixture of terrain. That has been really, really challenging for a number of teams, but that's what it's all about. So from our perspective, it has gone well. It's done what it's meant to do. It's challenged our soldiers. It's brought out their leadership skills. It's brought out their ability to endure when they're faced with hardship. So we've got 113 teams, and those are comprised of regular, reserve, UOTC and our international partners. This year we've seen the most ever number of international teams compete, so there's about a third of the number have been international. The exercise itself spans 65 years. If you look at the ethos of the patrol, that's not changed in any way whatsoever. So we're challenging our young leaders. The original event started in Hay and Wye and finished down on the coast at Maesteg. It was 120 kilometres, so twice as far as it is today. But today we've thrown in a lot more in the way of trying to replicate the operational environments that our young soldiers might actually encounter in future operations. So for instance, what we've learned from Ukraine, so the use of technology, we're testing technologies to see whether they work. We're also testing our soldiers' abilities to be able to utilise those technologies. The distance they have to cover, so the 60 kilometres, the weight they're carrying, so approximately 40 kilos. Mix all that in with the weather we've had this year and the terrain, and actually what you get is a very, very challenging exercise that's no different to the way it was 65 years ago. I managed to get out on the ground and see a young American team who've flown over from Virginia carry out the section attack with all of the challenges of the ground, etc., but throwing in enemy as well. And they were actually facing overhead gunfire that was being aimed at them. So for them, that was a totally new experience. If you take some of the locations that we've used, so for instance, the CBRN stand sits inside a quarry that is used extensively by film companies for big productions like Doctor Who. That creates an effect all of its own, even before you then throw back in the CBRN element of it. The fact that you've come through the mist, there's this bizarre landscape around you that's a bit like being on the moon, and then suddenly there's a military side to it as well. All of that adds that little bit of extra that we don't get anywhere else in the UK.
So what I target is the principle of any CAT badge, so any job in the army, whether you're a chef, a mechanic, an infantier, being able to call in emergency artillery fire. So all it requires is for you to identify where you are on the map, and once you've found the target, give a bearing, and then with a bit of judging distance in order to accurately get ideally an 8-figure grid, and then send that to an artillery call sign so that you can prosecute a target pretty quickly. Very simple call for fire crib that is used across NATO.
So if we add in then the terrain, the wet ground, the rain, the wind, the sun, and when it comes out, all of those things mix in and all of those things are quite specific to Wales. So just the fact that we sit right on the Atlantic means we get that come through really, really quickly. And all of those things mixed in is what really makes Cambrian Patrol unique.